Com, and you will see a record-breaking gator, or at least a photo of a one. We don't have a live gator here in the studio, although I think our friend Ricky Flynt, the Alligator Program Coordinator for Mississippi, would bring us one if he could, but he's busy on the river. Hey, Ricky.
Good afternoon or good morning or whatever time of day it is.
It's true. If you're gator hunting, you don't know what ends up or what ends down or whether to wind your watch or scratch your, you know how they say it. So how is it? It's day 4, right, for gator season?
Right. The alligator season opened up Friday at 12 noon, and it will close Labor Day Monday at 12 noon.
How are things going so far?
Well, I tell you what, I think considering all the cards that we have been dealt going into the beginning of this thing, I think it is going exceptionally well. With all the rain that was dumped on the southern 2/3 of the state first of last week, many rivers getting out of their banks, some of them at flood stage, and not knowing what those water conditions are going to be like for the alligator hunters. I had some concerns that some of those areas were going to be a little bit dangerous for people to be getting out on, but looks like we've gone all the way through the opening weekend without any incidents. And looking at the alligator harvest reports online that have been coming in, the numbers really aren't significantly down. I'm a little surprised. So people have been able to get out there and harvest alligators, and we're getting lots of feedback that they're interacting with our conservation officers on the water, getting checked, and everything's been going great.
And last night was a good night. Everybody keeps their eye on, I guess, every morning when those reports come out. Were records broken? Who got the biggest gator? But last night was special because this is a female gator that's kind of near and dear to your heart. So I think she has a name or at least a tag number. What was this gator to you, Ricky?
Well, this alligator, back in 2007, I started a program going out and tagging alligators, specifically started out on the Pearl River, Ross Barnett area, tagging alligators, getting measurements, GPS and the location where they were at, and turning back loose where we caught them and putting that into a database in hopes of getting some recapture information as alligator hunters were out. If they were to catch and harvest or catch and release one of these tagged alligators, they could give the information back to us, and we'd learn some things about how far these alligators move, how much they grow, and things like that. And so it's been very successful. We've tagged over 800 alligators across the state. The majority of them have been here in the Pearl River, Ross Barnett area, around Vicksburg, along the Mississippi River, around Eagle Lake, and then some on the Gulf Coast and the Pascagoula River. But we get about 12 or 15 alligators every year harvested by hunters that we have previously tagged. And last night, while we were out working, I got a call that an alligator was at one of the meat processors, and they were convinced that it was a female alligator and it was going to be a new state record. And during the process, they told me that it had some tags on it that the MDWFP had put on it. And I said, well, if it's 10 foot, 2, 3 inches long, and it's been tagged by us, I know what alligator that is. I said, that's got to be yellow 410. And they said, that's it. I'm looking at it. And so I went ahead and got off the water and went to meet these people in person and confirmed it. It was yellow 410. She's an alligator that I caught in June of 2009. And at that time, when I caught her, measured her, she was 10 foot 2 inches long. And we had no idea how old she was. There's no way to determine the age of a live alligator. There's just no way to do it. You can't look at their teeth like you can a deer or a horse or a cow, and the length doesn't tell you anything about age. So we knew it was a very old alligator just by the fact that 10 foot 2, even at the time in 2009, tied the world record for a wild alligator officially measured. There was one caught in the state of Florida in 1984 that also measured 10 foot 2 inches. Well, all these years, I've kind of hoped or expected that she might get caught again by one of our alligator hunters, and that never had happened. This is 14 years now, and lo and behold, these guys, Jim Denson and Richie Denson, both of Madison, caught this alligator Sunday afternoon, and we measured her again last night. And guess what? She's still exactly 10 feet 2 inches long. We have since learned that Florida has recorded another alligator just last year that was 10 foot 6 3/4 of an inch long. So that's the new world record. But to say that this particular alligator is a world-class alligator is no overstatement.
Are you kind of sad, Ricky?
You know, it's bittersweet. You kind of think about, wow, this alligator literally could be 75 to 100 years old. But at the same time, mark recapture projects like this have been so vital to wildlife biologists all across the world. And the use and value of hunters and hunting alone to be able to contribute and get that information back to us that otherwise biologists never would be able to attain by marking animals and getting information from harvest of hunters, finding out where they are, how much they've grown, how much they developed, all these types of things. This biological information is a huge basis for a lot of what we know about many wildlife species, not just in Mississippi, but all across the world. So I'm very proud. I mean, that's the purpose of this program, was to tag alligators and try and get more information. And without Jim Denson and Richie Denson harvesting this alligator, we may have never acquired this information.
And the significance of the fact that she hadn't grown over the last 14 years is pretty big. I mean, you think that if an animal lives out in the wild continuously to eat, that they would just continue to grow. But that kind of shows that maybe that's not true. Maybe they do reach a tipping point in terms of length that they can grow or size that they can get.
Yes, there's so much knowledge about alligator biology, particularly farm-raised alligators or alligators in captivity. But alligators in the wild, because you can't age them and because there are no other states in the country that are doing a mark recapture study like what I'm doing, you rarely get this kind of information that is historical. I mean, we're talking about 14 years of time. And I have to be honest, I never would have dreamt that in 14 years this alligator wouldn't have developed at least a little bit. She's actually digressed a little bit as far as body mass. When we caught her in 2009, her belly girth was 40 inches. Her belly girth last night when we measured it was 35. Her tail girth has decreased a little bit as well. So, hey, I would think that if I could live to be 100 years old, I think my body's going to be digressing just a little bit as well.
She was probably tired, Ricky. She was just tired. There's no telling how many babies she's probably had over the years, too, or I guess eggs or baby alligators.
It really is not. We know that adult female alligators that are of nesting capacity, we know they don't always nest every year. We know they nest most years. They only do it one time, and that there is biological knowledge that some of these older female alligators that have been caught and monitored in the wild are known. The larger alligators are known to produce infertile eggs. There's a propensity for that, but it's not always the case. I know I have some marked alligators and female alligators that we have monitored with our camera program, a remote sensing camera, that we've got some big female alligators out there in excess of 9 feet that are still producing viable eggs and hatching most years. So it's great information. Who knows how long it took her to get to the 9-10 foot range. I did some kind of just off the cuff calculating last night in the wee hours of the morning, just trying to figure it up. And I figured that if this alligator grew on average 2 inches a year, which is actually pretty good growth rate for an adult female alligator in the wild, she would have been at least 60 years old by the time she was 10 foot. Well, 60 years plus 14, that's 74, and it's probably much longer than that. So I think it's very possible that this alligator that Jen Denson and Richie Denson was successful in harvesting yesterday could easily exceed 75 to 100 years old.
Well, I'm so glad she made her way back to you, Ricky, and that she provided all that information. Thank you for joining us here on Good Things. You're welcome back at any time during the Gator season if another record is broken, but stay safe out there.
All right, thank you.
All righty, y'all stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.